Hi, let's talk about a Christmas-themed book. A book that is about a family that is quarantined over Christmas and kind of has to get along for 7 days without seeing anybody else. And this book is 7 Days of Us by Francesca Hornak. And before I get into my review, I just want to stress that Francesca Hornak is not making money off her current situation, but that this book was written in 2017 at a time where she probably thought that this was a scenario that would not affect 99% of the world's population. In 7 Days of Us, we are following the Birch family, the parents Andrew and Emma and their daughters Olivia and Phoebe. And how they end up in quarantine is that Olivia is a doctor with Doctors Without Borders who is stationed or works in the Lebanon, where there's a pandemic that's quite deadly, and she comes home for Christmas. And as a result of her coming home, the entire family has to go into quarantine. And of course, every family member has their own secret or something they're keeping hidden that they take into this week, and that gets exposed or comes to light over the next 7 days. So the 7 Days of Us is just the perfect setup for a cozy Christmas read. I went into this not expecting a literary masterpiece. Instead, I was just hoping for either a bit of witty banter or a character to get invested in, or maybe even a cute romance. I would have done fine with one of them, but still this book managed to disappoint. And the first reason it was such a letdown for me was the characters that were just over the top and stereotypical, which is okay for a Christmas book or a Christmas movie. We go into that quite often expecting that, but usually it's presented in a tongue-in-cheek kind of way. You notice that the author isn't taking their characters too seriously and knows they're over the top. But in this case, I really had the feeling that Francesca Hornak was serious in presenting these characters and actually thought they were good or well fleshed out characters. But I personally thought they were very one-dimensional and had nothing going for them whatsoever, which is why I personally did not feel invested in their story in any way. And the story is told out of each family member's perspective, and usually you do have a perspective you enjoy reading or you're looking forward to seeing, but in this case I was just pushing through it. One character was worse than the next, and it was just not an enjoyable read or enjoyable characters to follow. So for example, we have Olivia's character. She was a doctor in the Lebanon for a couple of months, and she comes back to her family and just looks down on all the Christmas traditions, thinking about how superficial everything is, how materialistic her family is, whilst her mother is just struggling to create this perfect Christmas. And I think that would be an okay portrayal for a teenager, but not for someone in their mid to late 20s. So she was absolutely hateful to her entire family, going way over the top with her minimalistic interpretation of life, not caring that life in England just is different to life in a crisis area. And then you of course have a polar opposite with her sister Phoebe, who is just the superficial, self-absorbed woman who only cares about her marriage and her own well-being. Emma is the stereotypical mother who's hiding cancer. That's no spoiler, we find that out within the first couple of pages, who's just trying to be the perfect mother and hide her illness by hiding behind work. And Andrew is the grumpy midlife crisis father. But as I said, I didn't go into this expecting unique characters. I just had hoped for something less one-dimensional and less annoying, and maybe an author that doesn't take their characters as seriously. Because these characters also had nothing to do with flawed but likable characters, they were just plain annoying. And the writing wasn't good either. The dialogue was absolutely cringeworthy. I felt very uncomfortable every time a character opened their mouth, just because what they were saying was portrayed in such a stilted, unrealistic way that you could not even imagine someone talking like that in real life. It wasn't witty at any point, and whilst it was over dramatic, it didn't evoke any emotions in me except, as I said, feeling very uncomfortable and just hoping that no one would open their mouths. And this weakness in writing dialogue and also interior monologues was further highlighted within 7 Days of Us by the fact that multiple characters were writing blogs or emails, and Andrew, for example, is portrayed as this very well-known columnist and highly regarded for his writing, and we see a couple of his columns, and to be honest, I couldn't believe that Francesca Hornak was trying to tell us that this guy was being paid for the crap he was writing, because it was not well written. It was also very snarky, but not in a humorous way, just in a hateful, depressed, I hate my life kind of way, which I think a normal newspaper would not pay for. And also the emails Olivia was writing, it was one big cringe fest, and that was the only emotion 7 Days of Us evoked in me. Yeah, so 7 Days of Us was a huge disappointment, which is really painful to me because I went into this book hoping I would love it, and I went into it with quite a good feeling just because I thought the setup was relatable and I thought it would be delivered in a light-hearted, funny way. But instead I have to bring you this very negative review with absolutely nothing good to say. And I think that's a bad way to start off the Christmas season. But I'm going to continue looking for the perfect Christmas read, so I might have more luck with the next book I pick up. If you have any Christmas themed or wintry, cozy reading recommendations, I would appreciate it if you left them down in the comments below so that I can maybe pick up those. I would also appreciate it if you liked this video and subscribed to my channel. I bring out new videos every single week, and hopefully I'll see you next week when I'll discuss the next Christmassy book I'll pick up. Bye!